On the planet Valkara, nothing was soft. The wind cut like knives, the trees had thorns instead of leaves. The rivers carried black water that burned skin, and in all of Valkara, only one person lived. Lyra. She was not a child anymore, not quite a grown-up either. Her skin shimmered silver in the cold moonlight. Her long white hair floated behind her like smoke. Lyra was strong, faster than the monsters that hunted the forests. But even she felt the weight of loneliness. For many years she believed she was the only Deathworlder left. Her people, tough, powerful, born from this brutal world, had all vanished. Disease, storms, war. One by one, they disappeared. Valkara didn't care who lived or died. Lyra had one rule: survive, eat, hunt, sleep, and never trust anything new. But tonight was not like other nights. Lyra crouched on a high rock, overlooking the black lake. Her sharp eyes caught something unusual. A light in the sky. At first, she thought it was a storm. But there were no clouds. The light moved in a straight line, growing bigger, brighter. Lyra's heart beat faster. A ship? She whispered to herself, voice raspy from silence. Impossible. No ships came here. Valkara was marked as a death world. In the galaxy, too dangerous for normal species. But the light kept coming. Closer now. It wasn't a star. It wasn't lightning. Suddenly, it broke into fire, screaming across the sky like a falling god. The ground shook. Birds with iron feathers flew from the trees, crying out. Lyra's sharp feet hit the ground. She ran fast through the dark forest, dodging thorn trees, jumping over jagged rocks. Her breath came in cold clouds. After many minutes, she reached a cliff. Below her, in the dead valley, she saw it. A ship, white and gray, glowing faint green. It had crash-landed. Smoke rose from its sides. But the main body was intact. And then her sharp hearing caught something else. Footsteps, not big like a monster. Not soft like a forest animal. 2 feet, heavy, metal boots. Lyra crouched low, her silver skin blending with the stones. She watched as a figure walked out from the crashed ship. It was tall, broad-shouldered, wearing some kind of armored suit, helmet reflecting the moons. The suit had blinking lights, green and red. Who was it? For the first time in years, Lyra felt true fear. Was this a new enemy, another Deathworlder? Or something else entirely? The figure stumbled a little, placing one hand on its knee. The gravity here was strong. Even Lyra had felt it as a child. Her bones pushed harder than on softer worlds. The figure stood back up, then slowly. It removed its helmet. Lyra's eyes widened. The face beneath the helmet was pale like her, but different. Brown hair, skin that looked too soft for Valkara. And 2 blue eyes, looking around. Sharp but tired. A human. Lyra had heard stories in old records. Broken holograms her people left behind. Tales of humans, strange creatures from a faraway planet called Earth. But they were just stories. Weren't they? What was a human doing here? How could he survive Valkara's gravity, its poison air? Lyra's heart pounded in her ears. She backed away, slipping behind a rock. She didn't want to be seen yet. Not until she knew what he wanted. The human set up something on the ground. A small camp? A fire glowed blue. Night grew colder, and yet Lyra didn't move. She watched him for hours, hidden in the shadows. Her eyes never blinking. For the first time in her life, she wasn't alone on Valkara. But was that a good thing, or a very bad thing? Lyra didn't know. Yet something deep in her gut told her. Her life was about to change forever. Lyra had not moved from her hidden place since the night the human arrived. For 2 days now, she watched him. From behind stone ridges, from under sharp leaf trees. Always silent, always careful, the human had built a camp. He had laid out silver sheets from his ship and created a kind of shelter. He moved strangely slowly, as if each step was heavier. Then it should be. Volcara's strong gravity pulled at him, just like it did long ago to Lyra when she was small. But the human didn't stop. Lyra had seen him fall. His knee hit the ground. She thought he would break. But he always stood up. Again, like a stubborn animal dot in the cold mornings, Lyra watched him take off his helmet to breathe. The air here was poison to most species, but he had some kind of device, small tubes in his nose. A rebreather. Clever. Still, clever or not, this was Volcara. It would kill him soon. Lyra was sure of it, but the human didn't die. Instead, he hunted. Not like her, not like a Deathworlder. He used strange tools. A long black stick that made loud cracks, some kind of weapon. Lyra saw him shoot a gliding beast from the sky. When night came, he lit a fire. Blue flames, cold flames. Not real heat, but light enough to see. Lyra crouched nearby, blending with the rocks. Her silver skin helped her hide. Her white hair was tied back to keep it from shining in the moonlight, she felt. Confused. Why was he here? Humans were not supposed to survive here. Not even come here. Volcara was marked as dead space. No one visited. No one cared. Except this one. Maybe Lyra thought, he's looking for something, or someone. Her heart tightened. What if he was looking for her? Suddenly, the human spoke. Lyra's ears twitched. His voice was deep, calm. I know someone's there. Her blood froze. The human stood up slowly. He held no weapon now, just stood near his fire, hands open. His blue eyes stared into the dark where she was hiding. I saw shadows, he said. Heard footsteps. I'm not here to hurt anyone. Lyra did not answer. Her hands were tight on the rocks, claws ready. The human smiled a little. I don't even know if you understand me, he said, but I'll wait. Wait. For what? Lyra's heart beat faster now. And then the sky growled. Volcara's famous electric storms had begun. Dark clouds rolled in, covering both moons. Blue lightning flashed. The human grabbed his gear quickly, moving back toward his ship. But the storm hit fast. Wind screamed. Dust covered the air. A sudden blast of wind pushed Lyra off balance. Her foot slipped. She knocked a small stone from the cliff. The human's head snapped toward her. Their eyes met. For the first time, truly face to face. Lyra's breath caught, and in that second, the storm exploded harder. The human's camp was torn apart. His silver sheets flew away into the sky. Lyra jumped down without thinking. Her instincts took over. She had survived here all her life. The human clearly hadn't. He was trying to hold down his supplies, but the wind was too strong. Lyra grabbed one end of the silver sheet before it flew away. The human stared in shock. A girl, silver-skinned, glowing blue eyes. For a second, both of them froze. Then Lyra shouted, "Follow me." Her voice was rough, unused to speaking. But it worked. Human grabbed his pack. Together, they ran into the storm. Lyra led him to a cave she knew well. A sharp twist through two jagged stones. It wasn't big, but it was dry and safe. Inside, both of them dropped to their knees, breathing hard. For a long minute nothing was said. Then Lyra spoke again, simple, slow. "Why are you here?" The human smiled, tired but alive. "My name is Jack," he said. "I came looking for survivors." Lyra blinked slowly. Her hands trembled slightly as she pressed them against the cave wall. So she wasn't the last, or maybe she wasn't meant to be alone anymore. Lyra had always known how to survive alone. But now, for the first time, there was someone else in her world, a human named Jack. After the storm, the cave stayed quiet. Lyra sat near the entrance, watching the dark sky outside. Jack sat farther back, carefully checking the gear he saved from his ship. His face was pale but calm. Neither spoke much. Lyra's mind was full of questions. Why would a human come to Volcara? Why risk death? Jack kept glancing at her. She wasn't like the monsters here. She was something more. Finally, he broke the silence. I really didn't expect to meet someone here, Jack said quietly, voice steady but tired. Everyone said Volcara was empty. Lyra's eyes narrowed. Her voice was slow, rough. It is. Only me. Jack set down his tools. His face showed surprise but also sadness. You lived here all alone? He asked. Lyra didn't answer. She just stared outside, sharp eyes scanning for danger. Her heart still didn't fully trust him, and she had reason not to trust. Volcara was not a place for peace. Suddenly, a strange howl echoed through the cliffs. Jack stiffened. What sea? That? Lyra stood up fast. Her hand reached for the blade strapped to her back. Night Hunter, she said. Her voice dropped low. Jack grabbed his weapon too, a human pulse rifle. Do we fight it or hide? Before Lyra could answer, something heavy slammed against the cave entrance. Stones shook. Dust fell. Jack's eyes widened as he saw a giant shadow taller than two men, claws scraping the rock. A long tail swayed behind it, eyes glowing green. The Night Hunter had found them. There was no time to think. Lyra pushed Jack to the side just as the creature lunged through the entrance. The fight began. Jack aimed his rifle and fired bright blue pulses, but the Night Hunter's thick skin deflected the shots. Lyra moved like liquid silver, faster than Jack could follow. Her blade slashed across the beast's leg. Sparks flew as metal met alien flesh, but the creature didn't stop. It roared, swinging its massive claw. Lyra ducked, rolled, and leapt onto the creature's back. Her eyes burned like twin moons, her teeth bared. She wasn't just fast, she was born for this world. Jack stared in shock. She wasn't just an alien. She wasn't just a girl. She was a true Deathworlder. While Lyra fought from above, Jack noticed something: weak points under the creature's belly. The armor there was thinner. Lyra, he shouted, aiming his rifle. Hold it steady. She didn't answer, but she understood. Tightening her grip on the beast's thick skin, she drove her blade into its back, making it rear up in pain. Jack fired. His pulse shots hit true, burning through the creature's weak spots. With a final terrible cry, the Night Hunter collapsed. Silence returned. Lyra jumped down lightly from its back, silver hair falling over her shoulder. Jack lowered his rifle, breathing hard. Their eyes met again. For the first time, real respect passed between them. You saved me, Jack said simply. Lyra shrugged. If you die now, I'll have to fight alone again, she said. Jack smiled at that. It wasn't much of a joke, but here, it felt like one. They both sat down by the cave wall, tired but alive. A few minutes later, Jack spoke again, more serious now. I came here because Earth detected strange signals from Volcara. We thought maybe someone was left behind. We didn't know you existed. Lyra's eyes lowered. Her voice was quiet now. I thought I was the last. Jack's face softened. You're not. For a long moment, they said nothing more. Outside, the storm had passed. The stars were clear again. Two moons hung in the sky like silent watchers. Two very different beings now shared this deadly world. A human from Earth, and a girl who believed she was alone. But when two worlds collide, something new always begins. The storm had ended, but something between Lyra and Jack had changed. Now, they were not just strangers hiding in the same cave. They were something more. Two survivors from two different worlds, facing danger together. Jack sat near the cold blue fire he had made using a human device. His rifle rested beside him. His arm had deep claw marks from the Night Hunter fight, fresh and bleeding. Lyra watched from a corner of the cave, her blue eyes fixed on him. You're hurt, she said finally. voice calm but serious. Jack gave a tired smile. I'll manage. He pulled out a small human medkit and tried to fix the wound, but his hands shook. Lyra frowned. That wasn't good. Without speaking, she stepped closer. Slowly, carefully. Jack tensed as she knelt beside him, but he didn't stop her. From a pouch at her side, Lyra pulled out a dark green plant wrapped in cloth. Deathworlder medicine, she said quietly. Works better here. She crushed the plant in her hands, mixing it with a little of her own silver blood. The mix glowed faintly. Jack watched in silence as Lyra pressed the glowing mix onto his wound. It burned. Hard. But then, the pain faded. The bleeding stopped. Jack let out a long breath. That's impressive, Lyra shrugged. We don't have medkits. We have to make our own. For a moment, there was only the crackling sound of Jack's fire device. Then, quietly, Jack asked, Lyra, how long have you really been alone here? Lyra's eyes lowered. Her voice was softer now. Since I was 10 cycles. My family, my people, all gone. Jack's face tightened. He understood loss, but living alone on a death world as a child? That was something even human soldiers weren't trained for. I didn't know your kind still existed, Jack admitted. On Earth, we only have old records, the Deathworlder species. They vanished. Some said it was war, others said sickness. Lyra gave a small, bitter smile. Both, she said. Jack stared into the fire. We thought your planet was dead. We detected a signal. Very old, that's why I came, to check. Lyra's head tilted slightly. Signal? Jack pulled out a small hologram from his gear. He pressed a button, and a faint blue image appeared. It showed the symbol of the Deathworlder clans, 2 moons crossing over a sharp blade. Lyra's eyes widened. That's from my people, she whispered. Jack nodded slowly. The signal was weak, maybe sent long ago by survivors. Earth didn't believe it at first, but I did. Lyra watched him carefully. For the first time, she saw more than just a stranger. Jack wasn't just here because of orders. He came because he cared. Maybe humans weren't as soft as she thought. Suddenly, a cold wind rushed through the cave. Lyra stood quickly. Her senses sharp. Her eyes glowed brighter. Jack noticed it now, that strange shimmer in her skin, in her blood. Deathworlders were built different, stronger, faster, but not unbreakable. Storms returning, Lyra said, glancing outside. We should move. Jack looked at her arm. Silver scars ran along it, old wounds. Too many for someone so young. Where would we even go? He asked. Lyra hesitated for a moment. Then she said something Jack didn't expect. There's a place, the old city, far in the west. Jack leaned forward. Old city? Lyra nodded once. Where my people lived, before the end. Maybe something is left. Shelter, power, maybe a way off this world. Jack stood now, wincing slightly as his arm still hurt. I thought your ship was broken, Lyra said, glancing at him with sharp eyes. It is. But if your city has Deathworlder tech, maybe I can repair it. Lyra's expression didn't change, but her voice softened slightly. Then we go. The fire device flickered low. Both of them gathered their things in silence. Before leaving the cave, Jack looked back once more. This all feels bigger than just finding one survivor, he said softly. Lyra didn't answer, but she understood that 2 worlds, 2 species, now walking the same path. When she stepped outside first, the cold air hit her skin like ice. But she didn't shiver, because now she wasn't walking alone anymore, and that meant everything had already changed. For 2 long days, Lyra and Jack walked together across Valkara's deadly lands. The ground was broken. Sharp black stones cut through the soil like bones sticking out of the earth. Above them, the sky stayed dark, covered by endless storm clouds. Lightning sometimes flashed in the distance, bright blue against gray. Jack wore his armored suit again. His human body wasn't built for this much gravity, but he pushed on, step after step. Lyra walked ahead, always quiet, always watching the path. Her eyes moved left and right, hunting for danger. They spoke only when needed. This way, Lyra said once, her voice sharp but calm. The lake is poison. Step on the stones only. Jack followed her instructions without question, but in his mind, a choice kept growing heavier. Should he really trust her? She was strong. She had saved his life. But she was still a Deathworlder built for survival, not kindness. That same thought was in Lyra's mind too. Jack was human, weaker here. If she left him behind, she could move faster, find her people's old city without waiting. But she didn't. Something inside her, something she didn't fully understand, kept her near him. By the third night, they found a place to camp under a broken metal tower from the old Deathworlder days. Rust covered the beams, but the roof still held. Jack set up his blue flame device again. Lyra didn't need its heat, but she sat near it anyway. For the first time since leaving the cave, Jack asked her a real question. Why did you really save me back then? His voice was low, thoughtful. Lyra didn't answer right away. Her silver eyes stared into the flame. Because, she said slowly, I was tired of fighting alone. Jack's face showed surprise, then understanding. He pulled out a small packet from his suit. Food, a compressed bar of something that smelled sweet. You eat this? Lyra asked, frowning slightly. Jack smiled. Human food keeps energy up. He broke the bar in half and offered one piece to her. Lyra hesitated. Deathworlder instinct said, never take food from a stranger. But this wasn't instinct now. This was trust. Slowly she took the piece. It tasted strange, soft, sweet, too gentle for her rough tongue. But she ate it anyway. In that quiet moment, something unspoken passed between them. Not just survival. Trust. Later that night, as the stars peeked through broken clouds, danger returned. Lyra woke first. Her sharp hearing caught it. Footsteps. Not Jack, something else. She stood, blade already in hand, eyes glowing faint blue. Jack woke too, gripping his rifle. What is it? He whispered. Before Lyra could answer, dark shapes appeared around. Then 3 creatures, smaller than the night hunter, but faster. Their eyes glowed red. Skyclaw beasts. Hunters. Fast. Deadly. Lyra knew fighting them here wasn't smart. There wasn't enough space to move. We run, she ordered sharply. Jack didn't argue. Together, they broke into a sprint. The beasts chased them across sharp rocks and through twisted iron ruins. One jumped close. Jack turned and fired, hitting its leg. The creature shrieked but didn't stop. Lyra spun in midair, slashing another with her blade. Silver and deadly. Her speed was beyond human limits, but Jack kept up as best he could. Suddenly, Jack tripped. His foot caught on an old wire. He hit the ground hard. Lyra saw it happen, felt her stomach twist. She had 2 choices: keep running and live, or stop and help. For a Deathworlder, that was not an easy choice. But Lyra didn't think twice. She spun back, grabbed Jack's arm, and pulled him up with shocking strength. Jack gasped as he stood again. You didn't have to. I said I don't fight alone anymore, Lyra said firmly. Together, they reached a tall rock wall. Lyra jumped first, pulling herself up easily. Jack struggled. Gravity pulled him harder. Lyra reached down, grabbed his hand, and pulled. For a long moment, their hands were locked, human and Deathworlder, 2 worlds connected. Then Jack made it up. The beasts below couldn't follow. Breathing hard, both of them sat on the rock ledge. Jack looked at Lyra, sweat on his face. You really meant it, he said quietly. We're in this together. Lyra just nodded. For the first time in years, she wasn't lying to herself. This wasn't just survival anymore. This was something else entirely. Asterisk. The journey west had been harder than Jack expected. For Lyra, it was normal. Deadly winds, broken ground, poisonous rivers. For Jack, even in his armored suit, Volcara felt like a planet always trying to push him down. Yet, step by step, he kept moving. Now after 4 days together, they stood before the old city. From the edge of a high cliff, Jack looked down and saw it. Giant metal towers, long broken, covered in sharp black vines. The air was thick with gray mist. Faint green lights glowed between the buildings like ghost fire. "This was your home?" Jack asked quietly. Lyra stood beside him, eyes cold but sad. "Long ago, before everyone disappeared." Together, they climbed down. Each step echoed on rusted metal. The old city was both dead and alive, empty of people, full of danger. Suddenly, as they walked between two buildings, Jack stopped. "What's that sound?" he asked, a faint hum. A vibration through the ground. Lyra's eyes narrowed. "The core is still working." Jack's heart beat faster. If the Deathworlder core was alive, it meant power still flowed here, power he could use to repair his ship. But it also meant something else. Could someone else be here? Jack asked carefully. Lyra's face darkened. Maybe, or something worse. They moved carefully now, weapons ready. Jack's rifle in hand, Lyra's blade glowing faint silver. Finally, they reached the center of the city. A tall tower stood there, taller than all others. Green light poured from its base. "This is it," Lyra said. "The core." Jack stepped closer. His suit's sensors beeped. Energy levels were high. High enough to power his ship, maybe even send a signal back to Earth. But just as he reached for the control panel, a pavindole, loud voice echoed across the square. "Warning. Unauthorized presence detected." Jack spun around. "Who said that?" Lyra grabbed his arm. "Run!" But it was too late. From hidden panels in the ground, machines rose. Tall metal figures, Deathworlder Guardian units, built long ago to protect the city. Their eyes glowed bright green. Their arms unfolded into weapons. "Jack, move!" Lyra shouted. The machines fired. Green plasma shots cut through the air. Jack dived behind a metal block. Lyra was already moving, blade flashing as she slashed the nearest Guardian's leg. Sparks flew. "These things don't stop, do they?" Jack growled, firing his rifle, but the machine's armor was thick. "Too thick. We need the core," Jack shouted. "If we shut it down, maybe the Guardians will power off." Lyra nodded once. "Cover me." While Jack fired pulse after pulse, Lyra ran straight through the middle of the fight, her silver body blurred with speed. One Guardian turned toward her. Too slow. With one sharp leap, Lyra was on the control panel. Her hands flew across the glowing keys, fingers moving faster than human eyes could follow. Jack ducked another blast, his rifle overheating. He looked up, saw Lyra's face tight with focus. Suddenly, the machines froze. Their eyes blinked once, then faded. Silenced. Jack let out a long breath. His arms ached. His heart raced. Lyra stepped down from the panel. "Core is offline now," she said calmly. Jack gave a dry laugh. That was intense. She tilted her head slightly. "You fight well, for a human." Jack smiled. "You're not bad yourself." Together, they walked toward the core's main console. Now that the Guardians were shut down, Jack could work in peace. He opened his gear pack, pulling out connection wires. Lyra watched quietly as Jack connected human tech to Deathworlder tech. After a few minutes, his device lit up green. "We've got power," Jack said, voice full of quiet victory. "Enough to fix the ship. Maybe even call Earth." Lyra didn't speak. Her eyes were fixed on the tower walls. Old markings covered them, symbols of her people. Stories written in metal. "Your people left all this behind," Jack said gently. "But maybe now it's time to move forward." Lyra touched one of the symbols. Her voice was soft now. Maybe. For the first time, the old city felt less like a tomb. More like a beginning, two worlds. One purpose now. Together, they stepped out of the tower, side by side, ready for whatever came next. The sky over Volcara was no longer dark. For the first time in many years, light from an engine fire burned across its clouds. Jack's ship was flying again. It wasn't perfect. The wings were cracked, the main thrusters weak. But it flew, and that was enough. Lyra stood at the ship's open ramp, her silver hair glowing faintly in the wind. Her blue eyes stared down at the old city below them, now growing smaller as they lifted higher into the sky. Jack sat in the pilot's seat, hands firm on the controls. His face was serious but calm. He spoke into his headset. Systems holding steady, for now. Lyra didn't say anything. She was looking at Volcara like she had never seen it before. Not as a cage, not as a grave, but as something she was finally leaving behind. Jack noticed her silence. "You sure about this?" he asked. "It's not too late to stay." Lyra turned slowly to face him. Her voice was soft but steady. "I've been here long enough." The ship's radar beeped suddenly. Jack checked the screen. "Another storm?" Lyra asked, stepping closer. Jack frowned. "No. Something else." His eyes widened. "Lyra, I think it's a ship." Lyra's heart stopped for a moment. "Another ship?" Jack nodded slowly. "Human design. Earth rescue team, maybe." My signal worked. For a long moment, Lyra said nothing. Then she let out a slow breath. She wasn't the last Deathworlder anymore, and she wasn't completely alone in the galaxy either. Minutes later, a large human rescue vessel came into view, white and blue, much larger than Jack's small craft. It hovered above them, flashing light signals. Jack opened a channel. His voice was steady as he spoke. "This is Commander Jack West. Found one survivor on Volcara. Requesting pickup." A voice answered from the rescue ship. "Understood, Commander. Prepare for docking." Lyra stepped back, her hand resting lightly on the metal wall beside her. Her sharp eyes softened just a little. "You trust them?" she asked. Jack looked over his shoulder. "I trust them more when you're standing next to me." A small smile touched Lyra's face. When the two ships connected, the ramp opened. Human soldiers in white suits stood waiting. Their faces were hidden behind helmets, but their body language said it all. Shock, surprise, and curiosity. "Commander West?" one of them asked. "That's really her?" Jack nodded once. "Deathworlder survivor. Name's Lyra." The soldiers lowered their weapons. One of them stepped forward slowly, offering a hand. Lyra looked at it carefully. She didn't take it. Not yet. Instead, she looked back at Jack. He gave her a small nod. "Up to you." Lyra took a slow breath. Then she stepped forward and placed her hand lightly in the soldier's glove. For the first time, a Deathworlder and a human stood side by side, not as enemies, not as strangers, but as equals. Hours later, inside the rescue ship's medical bay, Lyra sat quietly while human doctors checked her vitals. Machines beeped around her. Jack sat nearby, watching. He didn't say much. When one of the doctors spoke quietly to him, Jack's voice was firm and clear. "She's not a test subject. Treat her with respect." The doctor nodded quickly. "Of course, Commander." When it was over, Lyra stood up again. Her eyes met Jack's across the room. "So, Earth," she said simply. Jack smiled. "Yeah, Earth. What's it like?" Jack thought for a moment. "Less deadly than here. But a lot more people. A lot of noise. You'll get used to it." Lyra tilted her head. "Maybe." But deep inside, she wasn't scared. Not anymore, because she had already survived the worst place in the galaxy. Now, she had something new to learn. How to live, not just survive. Together, they stepped onto the observation deck. Stars stretched in every direction. Valkara was just a small, dark ball behind them now. Lyra looked at Jack. I was the last Deathworlder, she said quietly. Jack shook his head. Not anymore. And as the rescue ship moved forward, cutting through space like a blade, both of them stood together. One human, one Deathworlder, not alone. Not forgotten, but a new beginning. A story only just starting.